Okay, so what first drew you to the space program?
Not much. What I really want to do is be the best test pilot in the world. So I followed a career path that took me in that direction. I went back to college, got 3 master's degrees at the University of Michigan, and while I was there, became very friendly with a deputy commander of the U.S. Test Pilot School, who insisted that I apply for test pilot school, which I did. I was taken off the Edwards list and sent to England because of my academic background. The U.S. had sent several pilots on exchange duty with the RAF in the past, and that's the program that I was in, but they hadn't done very well in academics, and they decided that they needed to send somebody that had the academic background, so I went over, and I spent 1.5 years in England, and the best 1.5 years of my life. Lived in a very nice little house about 5 miles south of Farnborough, which is where I was stationed, Farnborough Airfield. And it was the location of the Empire Test Pilot School, which is what I went to for about 1 year. And I was about 1.5 years over there. But you see, I had applied for the astronaut program back in 1964 when they had the selection process. I was told that since I was already scheduled and ordered on the exchange duty with the RAF that they wouldn't consider me then. And I figured, well, I'd be too old by the time it rolled around again. So I never really gave it much of a thought. When I graduated from the test pilot school over there, Chuck Yeager and the U.S. Test Pilot School came on a visit. Yeager got off the airplane, came over to me and said, I need you back because I need you to teach some of the courses. And I knew the courses he wanted me to teach were very highly technical. They had not been written before, and he wanted me to come back and do that. I said, I don't think you can do that. I don't think I can come back. I'm scheduled for 2 more years over here to fly vertical takeoff and lift aircraft out of Bedford, which is a basic research center. Anyway, one thing led to another, and they did work through all of that, and the Secretary of State finally agreed that I should come back. And so I came back and taught at the Test Pilot School. In fact, your grandfather was one of my students. So I was both teaching and going through the course at the same time when I was there in '64. And I'm still looking at being just nothing but a test pilot. In December of '65, NASA published a request for applicants for the space program. And I thought, you know, everything I've done to be a test pilot is something that's needed for the astronaut program. So, yeah, I'll throw my name in the ring and just see what happens. And I got selected.
Awesome.
That's how I got in. But I never thought about it before. Never gave it much of a thought. It was not something that was on the front burner. It was not something that I said, when I was a little kid, I looked at the sky and I said, oh, I'm going to be an astronaut, right? I never thought about that. I'm just a pilot. Just want to fly.
What do you think is missing in today's education when it comes to space exploration?
I have a different view of space exploration than most people. I don't care where we go. I don't care if we go back to the moon. I don't care if we go to an asteroid. I don't care if we go to Mars. What's important about space exploration is the development of the capability to do those things. And as we advance in the technology and we develop the capability of go to places like Mars, that technology then filters down through commercial industry in this country, and it becomes the springboard for our companies to do very well and be very successful. And you can trace that back to the Apollo program. Back in the late 50s, one of the big programs in this country was the development of silicon chips to replace vacuum tubes in electronics. That was all done under a military program to begin with, but then it got filtered into NASA. NASA took that technology, gave it to private industry to build the stuff we needed to go to the moon and back, which was, I believe, one of the things that made us so successful going to the moon and back. We built solid state devices. We didn't build vacuum tube stuff. The Russians were still using vacuum tubes back in those days. We built solid state stuff. We developed the ability to weld titanium and to form titanium and do the things we needed to do. Lots of new materials, lots of new electronic technology was developed for the Apollo program. And we've seen the results of that. We've got MRIs, we've got CAT scans, we've got cell phones, we've got flat panel TVs, and I could name that. There are thousands of things that were developed based on that technology that was developed for the space program. Now we've lost that. We don't have that technology drive, that urgency for technology today, and I worry about that. That's why I spend a lot of time talking to middle, high school, and college kids about STEM programs: science, technology, engineering, and math. That's the future of this country. If we don't develop the technology to do the things that we would like to do in the future, we're going to lose it to somebody else, because they're all trying to do the same thing. China and Russia and India and Japan, They're all working on these things. If we don't stay ahead of that crowd, then we got a problem. And that's why I'm so passionate about motivating young people in STEM programs. It's my opinion, you just can't go into a classroom and start talking STEM, because that is a very boring thing to try and promote. If we had space heroes, I won't say space cowboys, I could probably fit in that category these days, but if we had space heroes, if we had another Neil Armstrong, how many kids, after Neil landed on the moon, how many kids decided to study aerodynamics or astronautics or math or physics or any of those things? How many kids in middle and high school decided that's what I want to do? And I think that was a great, great motivator. We don't have those kinds of heroes these days that provide the model that these kids look at and say, I want to be like that. So I think it's difficult, and that's why I think the space program is so important, that we get that development, that we start doing those things that are eye-catching, they're mind-boggling things to do. Go to Mars, okay? Better believe the first person to step foot on Mars is going to be the Neil Armstrong of the future. And that's going to motivate a lot of kids to do things. And so I think we need that space impetus to the motivation of kids in the STEM programs. I do believe that that's a very important thing. Anyway, enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Well,
One quick picture, and that's it.
now, you want a picture?
Now for the Christmas
No.
We just did hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah, okay.